Secret Dispatches, The Eldorian Royal Guard, Part 1, The Noble Beginnings Chapter 1, The Quest for the Ultimate Breakfast, The Eldorian Royal Guard. Protectors of the realm, defenders of the king, and connoisseurs of fine bacon. At least, that's what we aspired to be. In reality, we were more like a collection of mismatched puzzle pieces haphazardly jammed together, a clumsy knight with a penchant for pink armor, a wizard whose spells tended to backfire spectacularly, and me, Captain Evelyn Swift, the only one with a modicum of common sense in this circus. Captain Swift, the king's voice boomed, echoing through the grand hall like a startled dragon. The kingdom is in peril. I stifled a yawn. Barbarians at the gate again, Your Majesty, worse. The king wrung his hands, his crown askew. The royal breakfast is in jeopardy. The finest bacon in the realm has gone missing. My eyebrow arched. Bacon, Your Majesty? Surely this is a matter for the kitchen staff, not the royal guard. Nonsense. The king waved a dismissive hand. This is no ordinary bacon, Swift. It's the legendary dragon's breath bacon, cured in the fiery breath of the mighty Ignis himself. It's said to be so delicious, it can make a grown man weep with joy. I glanced at Sir Percival, our resident knight, who was polishing his suspiciously pink armor. He nodded solemnly, a tear glistening in his eye. It's true, Captain. The dragon's breath bacon. It's a culinary masterpiece, I sighed. Of course, Percival would be moved to tears by the mere mention of bacon. The man had the appetite of a starving troll and the culinary sensibilities of a goblin. Very well, Your Majesty, I conceded. We shall retrieve the dragon's breath bacon, even if it means facing the fiery wrath of Ignis himself. Excellent. The king beamed. Now, off you go. And remember, bring back enough for everyone. With a groan, I gathered my motley crew. Besides Percival, there was Gwendolen, our resident sorceress, whose spells were more likely to turn you into a toad than achieve their intended purpose. And then there was Bartholomew, our newest recruit, a squire whose main talent seemed to be tripping over his own feet. All right, team, I announced, trying to sound inspiring. Our mission is clear. Find the dragon's breath bacon. Any questions? Bartholomew raised a trembling hand. Captain, are we sure it's a good idea to anger a dragon? I hear they're quite fond of their bacon. I patted his shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry, Bartholomew, we'll handle Ignis. Just stay close and try not to set anything on fire. With that, we set off on our quest for the ultimate breakfast, armed with our questionable skills and a shared love for crispy bacon. The fate of the royal breakfast, and possibly the entire kingdom, rested on our shoulders. No pressure. Chapter 2, The Dragon with the Bad Hair Day. Captain, Bartholomew whimpered, his voice barely audible over the roaring heat. Are you absolutely, positively sure this is a good idea? Of course it is, I lied, trying to ignore the beads of sweat trickling down my back. What could possibly go wrong? Famous last words. As soon as we stepped into the lair, a wave of scorching air blasted us back, singeing my eyebrows and turning Percival's pink armor a rather alarming shade of magenta. Gwendolen, I coughed, fanning the smoke away from my face. Perhaps a cooling spell would be in order. Gwendolen squinted at her spellbook, muttering incantations under her breath. A moment later, a blast of icy wind shot from her fingertips, freezing the sweat on our brows and transforming Bartholomew into a shivering popsicle. Oops, Gwendolen chirped. Wrong spell. Before I could chastise her, a deafening roar echoed through the cavern, shaking the very foundations of the mountain. A massive shadow loomed over us, blotting out the dim light filtering through the entrance. Behold, Percival shouted, brandishing his sword. The mighty Ignis. The dragon emerged from the darkness, its scales shimmering like obsidian. But instead of the fearsome beast we expected, Ignis looked disgruntled. Its wings drooped, its snout was wrinkled, and its once majestic mane resembled a tangled mop. "What do you want?" Ignis grumbled, its voice a rumbling growl. "Can't you see I'm having a bad hair day?" I blinked. "A bad hair day?" "Yes," Ignis snapped. "My scales are frizzy, my mane is a mess, and I have a hot date tonight. And you lot barge in here, interrupting my beauty routine." I exchanged bewildered glances with my companions. This was not the dragon we had prepared for. Your scaliness," I began cautiously, "we're here about the dragon's breath bacon." Ignis snorted, sending a puff of smoke into the air. "Oh, that. Some bandits stole it, probably trying to sell it on the black market for a ridiculous price. Honestly, I'm more concerned about my split ends. So, you don't mind if we retrieve it?" I asked, trying to hide my surprise. "Be my guest," Ignis sighed. "Just don't disturb me again. I need to find a decent stylist before tonight. Do you know anyone who's good with fire-resistant hair?" I shook my head, suppressing a laugh. "Sorry, your scaliness, but good luck with your date." With that, we left the dragon to its beauty crisis and ventured deeper into the lair in search of the stolen bacon. It seemed our quest had taken an unexpected turn. We were no longer facing a fearsome dragon, but a creature battling the universal struggle of a bad hair day. The Eldorian Royal Guard, it seemed, was in for another bizarre adventure. Chapter 3: Swords or Sausages. The barbarian horde descended upon us like a ravenous pack of wolves, their battle cries echoing through the valley. I, Captain Evil and Swift of the Eldorian Royal Guard, stood at the forefront, clutching my sausage sword. I'm not sure what I expected, perhaps a surge of adrenaline or a heroic battle cry. Instead, all I could think was, I hope these sausages are well seasoned. Percival, ever the valiant knight, charged forward, his pink armor clashing spectacularly with the barbarian's drab attire. He swung his sausage sword with gusto, only to have it snap in half, sending a shower of meaty shrapnel raining down upon the bewildered enemy. "Taste my fury," Percival roared, brandishing the remaining half of his sausage like a club. Gwendolyn, meanwhile, was having a field day. She had managed to enchant her sausages, turning them into miniature fireballs that sizzled through the air, leaving a trail of smoky barbecue scent in their wake. "Eat this, you uncouth ruffians," she cackled, launching a volley of flaming sausages. Bartholomew, bless his heart, was cowering behind a rock, lobbing sausage daggers with surprising accuracy. Every now and then, he'd let out a startled yelp as a barbarian bit into one of his projectiles, mistaking it for a legitimate weapon. The battlefield was a chaotic symphony of clanging sausages, startled yelps, and the mouth-watering aroma of grilled meat. It was, without a doubt, the most ridiculous battle in the history of Eldor. And yet, somehow, it was working. The barbarians, confused and disoriented by our unconventional weaponry, were slowly retreating. Their leader, a hulking brute with a beard that could house a family of squirrels, roared in frustration, his axe clattering harmlessly against Percival's sausage shield. "What sorcery is this?" he bellowed. "Fight like men, not butchers." Percival, his face smeared with sausage grease, grinned triumphantly. "We are the Eldorian Royal Guard, and we shall defend our kingdom, even if it means fighting with sausages." With a final, valiant charge, we drove the barbarians back, their retreat turning into a full-fledged rout. As the dust settled, we stood victorious, surrounded by a battlefield littered with half-eaten sausages and bewildered barbarians. "Well," I said, surveying the scene with a mixture of amusement and disbelief, "I suppose that went better than expected." Percival, his armor now a mosaic of sausage stains, puffed out his chest. "Indeed, Captain, we showed those barbarians the true meaning of courage and culinary ingenuity." Gwendolyn, her face smudged with soot, giggled. "I must say, those sausage fireballs were quite effective." Even Bartholomew, his trembling subsiding, managed a shy smile. I think I hit a few of them, Captain." As we marched back to the castle, the aroma of grilled sausages wafting in our wake, I couldn't help but chuckle. We had faced a barbarian horde armed with nothing but sausages, and we had emerged victorious. It was a testament to our resilience, our resourcefulness, and perhaps, our collective love for a good barbecue. The Eldorian Royal Guard, it seemed, was capable of anything. Even winning a battle with meaty, edible weapons. And as we feasted on the remaining sausages that evening, I couldn't help but wonder what other bizarre adventures awaited us. After all, in the Kingdom of Eldor, anything was possible. Even a sausage sword.